Hello, and welcome to the Argyle CIO Leadership Forum Strategic Technology 2025. My name is Nick with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. Throughout today's event, you will also have the opportunity to win one of several prizes. So be sure to check out the prizes and raffle rules tab of the interface to see how you can earn points. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat and we will address your questions at the end of the session. Now, without further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker, Andreas Welsh, AI advisor, author, AI Leadership Handbook. We're super excited to have Andreas with us for a keynote presentation titled Accelerate Your Business Transformation with AI. Welcome, Andreas. Over to you.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for the opportunity to be with you today. Like Nick was saying, my name is Andreas Welsh. I'm an independent AI advisor to CXOs who want to realize business value from AI. And don't we all want to achieve that, right? There's so much hype in the market, so much FOMO, fear of missing out. My competitors are doing this, my partners are doing this. What can we do? That I take it as my mission to help you cut through the noise and see where are the opportunities from helping you identify, where can we align our AI strategy with our business strategy to what should our governance be, what type of roles and organizational setup do we need, how can we create an idea pipeline, and also make sure that we can bring our people along. I spent the last 23 years at SAP, leading AI in different capacities, from business development to product management, engineering, and product marketing. And I've worked with more than 80 Fortune 500 leaders over the years, helping them understand where are the opportunities for AI. Like I said, now independent and excited to be with you. I've recently published my first book called the AI Leadership Handbook that you see here. And in it, I lay out the 9 strategic facets of successful AI projects. I would encourage you to take it available on Amazon. And also follow me on LinkedIn. I'm a top voice there. I publish content on AI on a daily basis. And just recently released my first 2 courses with LinkedIn Learning on the topic of AI agents and agentic AI, what that means. Now, when we look at AI, like I said, it's never been easier to get hands-on and up close with the technology, whether it's ChatGPT on your phone or it's other tools like Perplexity, for example, to improve your web searches. I'm really, really curious. What's the latest AI app that you've used? Maybe this morning, maybe last night, maybe a couple of days ago. So please put it in the chat and let's see what you come back with. And maybe there's some new ones that I haven't heard of, maybe that some of your fellow participants haven't heard of. Give you a second to put that in the chat here. So what's the latest AI app that you have used? One of the things that I really like about this topic of AI is that it's so versatile, right? It's a ChatGPT, as John is saying, right? Available at our fingertips. We can use it to generate information, to summarize information, translate it across text and video and image and audio in many, many different formats. So again, please feel free to put it in the chat, and maybe there are a couple of things that we haven't seen before. Now, if I look at where the market is and what some of the leading market analysts are projecting, right? A year and a half, 2 years from now, roughly by 2026, we will have more than 100 million people that will engage with AI in a way that AI can take over more of our boring and mundane things. And that's been a promise for a long, long time. And it seems that whether it was robotic process automation or machine learning or generative AI or now things like AI agents, there's always been this promise that we get more and more efficient and more productive. Every time we moved up that step on the ladder, there was something else that turned out to be more mundane that the current technology couldn't do. But with AI, there's this promise that more and more people will be able to use it on a daily basis and will use it. And you think back another 2 years from there, by 2028, Gartner forecasts that 15% of day-to-day work decisions will be made autonomously. So let that sink in. We all make dozens of decisions on a given day, whether it's for proposals we create, information we review, guiding our team members, getting feedback from somebody else, collaborating. So there's a huge potential for AI to really transform our business. But it won't happen overnight, right? It's not just a magic thing that happens. We say we want to be 15% more effective. Let's throw some AI on top and it'll take care of that. Those of you who've gone through your AI projects know what I'm talking about. We need a different approach. We need a much more deliberate approach, but just seeing where that potential is and what we can achieve, I think is super, super impressive. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this concept of agents. You've probably seen this in the tech news if you've been following them for the last couple of months. At the beginning of last year, we saw the first iterations of this. People took generative AI, large language models, and said, well, if this model can understand language and if it can generate language back, well, maybe we can use these models to do more than drafting emails and summarizing documents and these kind of things. So what if such a model could also take action? You can use them for coding. What if it generated some code, it called an API of a different service, for example, asked what the reservations to make a reservation at a restaurant, sent back the information, so interact with other systems. And they were able to do that. But from these research type projects, let's see what we can do with it, you now see large vendors of commercial software, the Microsofts, Googles, SAP, Salesforce, and many others that are embedding this into their standard software. So there's a huge and a very, very steep innovation curve. Doesn't mean that the adoption will be as fast. We all know that it takes some time, on one hand, for the technology to mature even further and to be enterprise ready and enterprise grade, but on the other side also for our own organizations to go through this evaluation and go through that adoption. But really the big thing here is that from our traditional rules of programming, if this happens, then do that, from instructions, we've moved to data and to patterns with machine learning, we've moved to generating information with large language models, and now next step is we're moving to goals. Instead of saying, if this happens, then do that, or if you have a new data point, classify, categorize, this is a cat or a dog or a hammer or maybe a jackhammer. All of a sudden now we have the ability to say, this is the goal I want you to achieve. Go create a marketing brief for me. One agent take over the strategy role, another one take over the copywriting, another one take over the creative, and come up with the best proposal, give me some pros and cons, come back to me as a marketing strategist, and I've just delegated a bunch of work that I would otherwise need to do myself or talk to 5 or 10 different people to. So it's all about goals. Now, a couple of weeks ago at the Gartner IT Symposium, Gartner released some additional stats that I found are quite impressive, right? We always talk about that, yes, AI will have a profound impact on our business. Yes, we can use it to change the way we do business, make our processes more efficient and effective. Again, instead of rules or even instead of things like machine learning, in many cases, we can use generative AI, for example, to draft better job descriptions, draft better product descriptions, extract information from documents, from bills of lading, from invoices, from sales orders, and so on, with a much higher degree of quality and accuracy. But it's not just that it will have a profound impact, it actually has that impact today. And Gartner surveyed several hundred CEOs, and about 3/4 of them said, yes, we expect AI will transform our industry. So we need to be ready and we want to participate in this. So as a big driver and motivation for why do we want to even look at this? Basically because there's no way around it, right? On one hand, you have the technology that's out there. On the other, you have people, competitors, partners, customers using this. So ignoring this fact that this technology is here, it's not just a novelty, it's here to stay, it would be detrimental. But the key part is using AI, introducing AI to your business is unlike any other tech project that any of us have worked on. I spent about 14 years at the beginning of my career in IT, and know how we like to approach things, right? Very structured, very formal. We tend to be quite risk averse for all the right reasons. What happens with my data? How can we manage cost, or even have some ring-fenced budgets to do some things, but make sure we don't have overruns. How can we make sure it's secure? It's all super important, but in many cases, an AI project is not just a linear start to finish. We need to think about it more as a product. Right? I like to say that when we think about it as a product, we put the user at the center of it, the end user. When we think about a project, we oftentimes put the end date at the center. We say, how can we achieve this by date X? Products, they don't really have an end date, right? Take Honda Civic as an example. The first car was made, in the 70s? There've been multiple generations. I don't even know what generation we're on right now, 9 or 10 or something like that. And the product, the car has always evolved. It's still called a Civic, but there were additional features, new safety enhancements, and so on that have been added. So think about AI as a product instead of a project would be my first recommendation. So, but hey, if 3/4 of CEOs says AI is super important, we need to figure this out because it's detrimental to the success of our company, why in the world are 85% of projects still failing? And it's rarely just because of technology. It's because of the way that we are working with our business peers. We are working with the users that are impacted, that are affected by this change, by introducing new technology like AI. And we need to do a better job there. We need to guide them better. We also need to equip our business leaders and managers in the organization better to manage that change. So I would argue, and I'm curious if you agree or if you don't, so feel free to put that in the chat again as well. I would postulate that your business doesn't need more AI. It's not just about throwing additional technology at the problem. Because I think a lot of times we don't even fully understand what is the problem that we're trying to solve. And maybe sometimes even your business peers don't understand that well enough either. So we need to tease that out, have our teams come together. What is the problem that we're actually trying to solve? Where is the opportunity? And also, how can we make it measurable? A lot of times, and in my first conversations, I hear things like, yeah, we want to maybe give Copilot to our employees so they're more productive and they're happier. They need to make fewer clicks, they get emails drafted faster, whatever it may be. But it's really not just about happy employees. It's very commendable. We all want to enjoy the work that we do, but it's very, very tough to measure happiness. It's a lot easier to measure what's the impact we have on our top line or on our bottom line, or how quickly are we able to close the books with the help of AI, or before and after. So choosing the right business metrics, the ones that the business cares about, the ones that the business is measured by, is really, really important. By the way, speaking of Copilot, I'm taking a peek at the chat from earlier, and I see some of you are working with Copilot already, so that's good. It's very good and tangible first example of how we can use AI. But I would also say a lot of times just buying Copilot licenses should really not be your AI strategy, at least not the only aspect of it. Tools like Copilot, ChatGPT Enterprise, and the like help our employees get more productive a lot more quickly. Right? But there are a couple dimensions to this. Think back to maybe the first time you worked with tools like Microsoft Excel or Word or other likes. There's a learning curve. was a learning curve when I first opened Excel, or when I was asked to write a formula or create the first VBA macro 20, 25 years ago. And there's the same learning curve using these tools, these AI tools now. So while it's important to be at the leading edge and give employees access to these tools, which, by the way, if you don't, there's a high chance that they'll just use their personal device and put company data in there. But it shouldn't be the only starting point. So in another survey, Gartner found that IT leaders said, hey, we actually focus 50% of our effort on the topics where it's about productivity. For example, Copilot, might be other tools as well. Many of the vendors are adding AI to their standard products. But the other value is really when you look at the business. So where can we add AI in a business process because we want to become more efficient, because we want to be more effective, and because we either want to sell more or we want to reduce our cost. Obviously, those two at the very high level as these metrics. But what are the underlying KPIs that we can improve when we use AI in a certain process, in a certain application? And I think that's where also a lot of the struggle is when I work with my customers. Yes, IT owns the strategy, IT owns the budget, even IT is also the gatekeeper for what are the products we should be using, so they're safe and secure and we don't have data leakage and all the concerns we care about as IT leaders. But it's really about bringing the business together with the technology side. And while that seems obvious, many organizations are not at that stage yet where they do have that governance, where they do bring stakeholders together. So one of the ways that we used to do it at SAP when I was in product management and engineering was really bring engineering leaders in that were focused on building finance applications or procurement applications or sales applications, and bring in our Center of Excellence for AI to say, where are the opportunities? What are, in this case, SAP's customers spending the most time on in a given day? Is it, for example, they take finance? When are customers going to pay us? Are they going to pay on time? Are they going to pay late? Are they paying the full amount? Are they paying a lump sum? Can we predict our liquidity here and when they're more likely to pay? Okay, so that sounds like a project and a problem, most of all, that's worth solving. Because if we, in that case, can help finance organizations better forecast and anticipate when is the money coming in, they can optimize their cash management, they can optimize their liquidity forecast. Do we have enough money in the bank to make investments, to buy raw materials, and so on? So yeah, that's a problem worth solving. So the idea was, let's bring together the engineering leaders, let's bring together the technologists, and be very, very clear and specific about what is the opportunity, what is the problem that we are trying to solve. Now, what works at a large enterprise, global company, high tech, is easily transferable to your organization as well. Right? If you're in a smaller organization, maybe you don't need a full-blown program with dozens of people who create reports and status and meet on a regular basis. Maybe you know the person who leads finance, right? If you're in a smaller organization. Maybe you even have lunch together because you're in the same office, or what it may be. But the key is really create that strong bond and connection with your business stakeholders, to gather requirements, to see where they're at, to keep them engaged, to keep them informed and be part of that process. Because as we're going through that transformation, it's not just a technology transformation. Technology is an enabler. And again, as obvious as that might sound, in my work with enterprises large and small, I see that it's not necessarily given. Right? As technologists, we're super excited by the opportunities and the possibilities that this technology can bring. Let's go find use cases and we build something awesome. Business doesn't think that way. Right? They think, how can I make my numbers this quarter? How can I reduce the cost? How can I keep the quality up or improve it? How do I reduce the number of service tickets I get or respond faster? But bringing together the two, that's where the magic happens. So where are the challenges then? Why are we seeing 85% of AI projects still failing? As you think about business transformation, that's a key part that needs to be front and center in your thinking and in your approach as well. So, in my point of view, it's not just about overcoming them. Once you're stuck in that situation, once you're seeing your project isn't going anywhere or it's derailing, it's also what are the things we need to do right from the very beginning before we start a project. So much like we have defined criteria to enter a project, we also need to have criteria of how do we assess that we're still on track, and how do we exit a project if we're not meeting those criteria. And especially that the last part about exiting is a really tough one, because it means that we weren't able to achieve the goal. Maybe we overpromised and we underdelivered, or we didn't anticipate that the data wasn't as good as we thought it would be, or that there would be that much pushback from the business to do this. So there's always a risk of losing face in some sense. But that's why it's important we clarify upfront. How do we enter this project? What do we want to achieve? How do we have measurable milestones and progress as we go along? So from planning to execution, but then also not be afraid to pull the plug and say, well, looks like we're not able to achieve this in the timeline we thought, or we are spending more time, or are likely going to spend more time and resources on this that we can divert to something else. So maybe we pause this one, or we don't continue here. So to me, the 6 steps to overcome this are defining the business problem at the very beginning. What is it that we're trying to solve? Let's quantify what the value is that we believe we can achieve. It doesn't matter if it's generative AI or machine learning or some other form, but tie it back to a business KPI. Make sure that your stakeholders buy into that problem and that you want to solve, and if you solve it together, it's the big one. Also take a look at what are the applications that we're already using. Right? Maybe you are using some standard software for your HR processes or your procurement processes, and those vendors have been adding a lot of machine learning and AI over the years. So taking a look at what's available to us, or maybe with an additional license or an investment, and what is the business outcome that we expect to achieve, what KPI are we going to impact, that's going to be key, because you don't need to build it from scratch. Right? The question isn't, can we build the best AI platform for our business? The question is, how can we solve a tangible problem and move the needle for the business? So looking at applications you use on a regular basis, is there AI in it and we're not using it yet, would be one of my top recommendations. If you build your own applications, do we have the data? Is it of the right quality? And then lastly also, how can we help our end users that will be using this application on a regular basis? First of all, understand what challenges they are seeing. People on the ground that work with the products day in, day out in the process, they know where the issues are. They're your best source of information in finding where the potential is. But they're also probably the ones that are going to push back the most, because it means change for them. So in your planning, make sure that you engage with your stakeholders early on, you define the problem very clearly and in ways that are measurable, and that you bring end users in and along as you go through the project. Now, AI, generative AI especially, also means that we need to upskill our teams. Like I said, we didn't just give people Microsoft Office and expected them to be more productive the next day. So why would we apply that same thinking with AI? There is a learning curve. Now, while AI tools are a lot more accessible these days on our phones and our personal devices for personal purposes, it also shifts how we need to think about it. So from creating, right, I need to write this email myself, to using ChatGPT or Copilot or other tools, and guiding these tools and reviewing the information that they generate. That's a big mind shift. Before, also we used to go to Google and look for information that we had to disseminate. Now these tools summarize it for us, create it for us, but we're never 100% sure, is it right? Is it true? Or does it just sound plausible? So that's a big shift to be aware of as well as we roll out these tools in our transformation. Something you should monitor as well. How are people using these tools? What is the feedback that we're getting? So from guiding or from creating to guiding and review. Now, where are we headed? It brings us back to the topic of agents. If you think back to tools like ChatGPT, what, a year ago? Yeah, probably a year ago. OpenAI introduced plugins in ChatGPT. So ChatGPT all of a sudden was able to communicate with other sites through APIs, gather information, submit information. It was a great way to extend large language models to take action. It's moved on to assistants, to co-pilots, even companies like Microsoft calling their product Copilot. And it's very, very quickly moving over to the top right here, agents. So agents, where we have a goal that we define, we give that to the software, and the AI agent disseminates what is this actually about, what are the tasks, what are the subtasks, what kind of expertise do I need, what systems do I need to connect to, solve the problem, come back to you with a recommendation with the pros and cons. And we'll see a lot more of that. Also, that level of autonomy and more general purpose type capability. So you've seen that Microsoft, Salesforce, SAP, many others are investing significantly there. So there's a huge opportunity for business, for optimization, for transformation. But the question is your organization ready? On one hand, right, your technology, your tech stack, is that there? Do we have the data? But also are our people enabled to do that? Now, let's maybe skip over these things here, right? So the part for me is how do we get there? And that brings us to the close. Right? With this opportunity of AI in business transformation, making sure we engage our stakeholders, making sure we improve our planning and our execution as we go through the transformation, and we continuously monitor how we actually tracking along and how are we achieving what we set to achieve. There are a couple of ways to also help your organization. We'd like to get a tailored session for your teams to better understand that the concepts or get an outside perspective. Happy to help there as well. Like I mentioned, I recently published 2 courses on AI agents on LinkedIn Learning that I would recommend you take a look. Or if you want to learn more about how you can lead AI successfully, I would recommend you check out the AI Leadership Handbook on Amazon. So I think we already have 2 questions in the chat. So take a look here. First question is, what are some of the first steps companies should take when planning an AI-powered business transformation? So my first recommendation would be, don't think about AI. Don't start with AI as the focal point. Start of where do we want to be in the future? Where do we want to go? What is our big goal, or what are our 2, 3 goals? And how can technology help us? Maybe it's not even AI that you need to help you do that. Maybe in some parts, AI is an adequate tool to use it. So start with the business problem. What is it that we're trying to achieve? Can we make it measurable? What does it mean? What would it take to improve our margin by 0.5% or reduce our spending by 1 or 2%? And how can AI, help us get there? Ideally, AI in a product that we already use, but we're underutilizing it before we start building something from scratch. There's another good question here. How can we as IT leaders approach ongoing monitoring to ensure the AI-powered transformation is on track to meet its objectives? So the way that I've seen that's very successful is setting up a governance, right? Meeting regularly with your business stakeholders, with your senior executives, have a bit of reporting, again, depending on the size of the organization, it might be more lightweight or it might be more formal, but have an innovation pipeline. What are the things that we are working on? What are the projects or products we're working on? And are we seeing measurable results, successful results as we go along? And if we're not, what are some tweaks we need to make? Or again, is this a project we should continue pursuing? Would be my recommendation. But always bring it back to the business and the alignment with the business. If your business stakeholders are not engaged, if they're not excited about this, it'll be very, very tough. What have companies who have completed successful AI transformation projects said they wish they had known from the start? It's a lot more complex than you think it is. AI is not the solution for each and every problem, but it really takes a basic level of understanding. Where should we start? And then from there on with your business and tech continue. So with that, let's bring it back to Nick. Thank you so much for the opportunity today. Feel free to reach out and connect on LinkedIn if you have any questions. Thanks.
Great. And thank you again, Andreas, for such an incredible keynote. And I want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. For those of you who earned points throughout today's event, an Argyle team member will be following up with the winners in the next couple of weeks. This officially concludes the Argyle CIO Leadership Forum. Thank you again for joining us today and engaging in our content. We look forward to seeing you at our next Argyle Digital Information Technology event soon, which will be our CISO Leadership Forum, Cloud Security, AI, and Governance 2025 on December 12th, 2024. Have a great rest of your day.